I became
this sober vet.
Don't live, don't live, don't live.
Our mission is to normalize sobriety with veterans who are using and abusing substances in a harmful, self-medicating way. All right, this is it, world. Welcome to This Sober Vet. We have made it into the double digits. This is episode 10, and I'm very excited for today because this only happens once, and we are doing something very new. I'll get to that in a second. Let me start with this. I'm an Army veteran. My name is Joe Yurick. I am joined by my co-host, who is my battle buddy, also an Army veteran, who I had the pleasure of deploying with, Sergeant Thomas, a.k.a. Dr. Teresa Thomas. How are you?
I'm doing great, It's good to be here. Another day. Episode
Yep.
10, double digits. We're moving on up.
This is going to be a tearjerker, but this is one that the world needs to hear. So I'm glad you're sitting down. I hope you strap on a seatbelt because I'm going to take you on a ride. We're going back to 2006. So back in 2006, do you remember Taylor? He worked with Sergeant Espinoza, rest in peace. He was at NBC. He was like a private or a specialist.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So after I got out, Taylor moved up here with me for a while in Pennsylvania. So one weekend, we went out and about. We were searching for respectable women to do respectable things too. So
of course.
Yeah. So there's a bar out near me. It's in Parksburg. It's called the Brass Eagle. So we headed out to the Brass Eagle. We're in line to get in. Back then, I was a super cool guy, had my hat on backwards. At the door, they made me turn it forward, which I was like, lame. So I go in, didn't really have high expectations. Walked straight up to the bar. I saw they had a sale on pitchers, so I got like a pitcher of Miller Lite or something. So as we're waiting on our pitcher, I always scan the room. And as I'm scanning, I look over to the dance floor, and I see this girl who is just lighting up the dance floor. So I immediately look at Taylor, and I was like, dibs, because you have to call dibs. So I called dibs on this girl. We ordered our pitcher. While we're waiting for it, the song ended. So I saw her and her friend walk over to a table, get a drink real quick, and then the next song came on. They went back out on the dance floor. And by this time, we had got our pitcher, and the bartender was like, hey, you can't be at the bar with a pitcher. You have to go to a table. So I looked at Taylor. I was like, I know what table we're going to. So I walk over to this girl's table. And have you ever seen the movie Mr. Deeds, Adam Sandler?
Why does that sound so familiar?
So, well,
I'm sure I have.
He like finds out he's rich and he has this butler. And when he's in the mansion, this butler like pops up out of nowhere, like right next to him and scares the crap out of him. So as soon as I go to put this pitcher on this girl's table, boom, she popped up right next to him. What are you doing? Are you putting a roofie on her drink? And I'm like, whoa. Ooh. I was like, whoa. I was like, first of all, I don't even know where to get a roofie. Like, I'm immediately offended. So I'm like, excuse me, I don't need drugs. Like, I have game. So let's just stop right there. She's like, well, my cousin was roofied a couple weeks ago. And I just want to make sure. I was like, not at all. So all throughout the night, I'm making this girl laugh. By the end of the evening, I actually leave with her phone number. And here we are 18 years later. She is the love of my life. She is my best friend. She is the mother of my children. I'm sitting next to, proudly, the beautiful, multi-talented Katie Yurick.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome to the show, honey.
I know. I'm going to listen to that one a couple times.
Absolutely. Do you have anything to speak on about that fateful night?
I mean, I would want to say that we probably remembered a little bit differently. But I was out just to have fun. I just want to put that out there. I was there just to dance and have fun.
And I was looking for respectable women to do respectable things too.
No respectful things. Right.
I will say, I don't think I've ever met anyone who made me laugh as hard as Joe did.
Nice.
Yeah. And that's how he got my number. I've never given out my real number until I met Joe.
Boom.
Gotcha.
Look at that. Yeah. And humor, I would like to say, is the only thing that has kept me alive to this point in this relationship.
1,000%. 1,000%.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it gets them in trouble too. So, it goes
Too
on
much
both
humor.
sides.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So with today's episode, Katie had a really good idea, and I wanted to do it on a milestone because this is the only time we will be our first double-digit episode. So she had the idea of coming on here and speaking on the spouse's point of view of dealing with an addict, because I know I've told my story story. Every other episode, we've had someone tell their sobriety story. So this one's going to be pretty rough, rugged, and raw in a sense, because it's not going to paint me in the best light, but it's going to show everyone out there the realness of relationships. I think Katie's going to be a good voice for people out there that may not have a voice, and it tells my sobriety story through her eyes, which again, she is my best friend. She's the love of my life. She is my rock. Like, I could not have been luckier with her and more blessed with her. So yeah, I'm excited yet nervous to get into what we're going to get into. But like I said, I feel like this is very necessary.
Absolutely.
And I'm just going to kind of let Katie go with it. And then Dr. T and I will just kind of chime in as necessary.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a little nervous. This is something that we definitely keep close to our heart. It's something that I worked for so long to protect from other people and protect Joe and my kids from. So it's really hard to come out and speak on it. It's inspiring to see Joe be able to come out and speak about his sobriety and his journey. And as fulfilling as that is for him, I think for me, it's still really hard because I don't want to let other people in still. And I'm still don't want people to think any differently of what we have shown them, absolutely. First off, I'm beyond proud of this man for being sober and putting in all the hard work. And it's not just being sober every day. It's just everything to rebuild our relationship, our marriage, our family. And so proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm also, proud of you guys for having this platform and being able to give veterans a voice who are addicted and want to come out on the other side and tell their story to help other people.
Absolutely. Amazing vision, Joe. Yeah.
When I listen to each episode, it hits somewhere really special in my heart, because whether or not you have someone close to you, somebody at least that is a veteran, or it's maybe someone who is dealing with addiction, and it hits home. It hits home. Addiction, it hurts everyone who's involved.
Yes, it does. Absolutely. Yeah.
I wanted to give a voice for the loved ones. We hear the stories from the veterans, and we hear their struggle. And I wanted to give a voice to the struggle of those that are the spouses, the significant others, the family members, the loved ones, because their story is just as impactful. And I think something we don't think about is we remember all those stories where you may have blacked out and forget stuff. We are left remembering those.
Right.
Let's talk about that.
That's hard. But I guess I'll go back to the beginning of kind of our story. And, when I met Joe, our oldest was 3 years old. And I think a lot of people would be surprised to know that Joe is not his biological father. But Joe has raised our son as his own. And
I got him at the perfect age, because by 3, he was so impressionable, and he thought I was the coolest man alive.
I mean, still does, I think.
Even in the beginning when we first started dating, Katie's like, are you dating me or my son? Because you come here, you take my son on adventures, and like, hello, I'm over here. And I just immediately bonded, and we're still very cool to this day.
Yeah.
Like, I love him to death.
That is great.
Yeah, they still plan, like they go to Comic-Con, and then like that next day, they're already planning their next Comic-Con.
Absolutely, yes.
But, having Joe come into our life, and I had our youngest when I was in high school. So, I was still really young and going through a lot too. And it was kind of like he was this angel who came in and kind of like swooped in and saved us and just showed us this love that we didn't even know before like existed in that way. And, me and Joe moved in and then got married, and I always knew he was a drinker. I knew that was something that he enjoyed doing. Like, we met at a bar, I was drinking, and we definitely had some parties. And,
Graham Monnier.
Don't want to remember any of those nights and or those next days. Yeah. But, as time went on, I started seeing that, his relationship with alcohol changed, and that his behaviors and as a person he changed. He started becoming two different people. And it was really hard because when Joe's sober, he's this most amazing man and this amazing father. And, no matter what, he's the hardest worker I've ever seen in my life. Like, there's no one who works as hard as Joe. And then he would start drinking, and he'd get this glazed look over his eyes, and I would immediately know, okay, we're beyond the point of where I want to communicate with him now. And I needed to, kind of step away and kind of like hide myself and the kids and kind of pull us away from interacting with Joe at that point. And it was scary.
What did it look like? What did it look like at that point? With the glazed eyes, okay, here comes what?
Yeah, like I guess the glazed eyes, I knew that that I couldn't trust what he was going to say. That there was this other person who was mean. He was mean. And I couldn't trust what he was going to say. And I also think that with that trust, it was a lot of lies that came with that. And it was hard because we would go to family parties and gatherings, and Joe would drink with our families and holidays, and everyone thought he was so great and so funny. And it's like we would get home and he was that different person drinking. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't that fun person at home. He was that mean person who would say things that were really hard.
Okay. Do you remember some of the tough things he would say?
Can I chime in real quick? For the record, I've never, ever physically abused Katie. So I want that to be clear. So I've never put my hands on
No,
it. Nor
but
will I
it's
ever.
sometimes, and yes, I'm thankful that I was never abused physically, but definitely mentally was something.
Yeah, hard.
Yeah, sorry.
This is it's all right. It's very important because this lets those that are in these relationships, they're relating. They're absolutely relating to you right now.
Yeah, he would say things like, he would want to start a fight, and I would be like, stop it. And he's like, I don't know why you can't handle this. You met me when I was drinking, and you want to change me. And he would tell me that no one else would want me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's like, I work so hard, and who's going to want you? If I'm not with you, no one else is going to want to be with you. And that would stick with me. And why would I drink? Because I'm stressed out, and you make me stressed out. And I'm like, how am I stressing you out? And it was I started to feel like I was at fault. And, I started to feel so bad about myself and our relationship is that I started to eat my feelings. And I used food in a really harmful way. And I gained a lot of weight. I was so insecure. I didn't feel, that girl that Joe met 18 years ago, she was confident. She could go right up to someone. And like you said, I had this a little bit sassy, I was fierce. And that person kind of disappeared. As Joe began to drink, I wasn't myself anymore. And
your self-esteem.
Yeah, I lost it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, we would sit down the next day and talk about, how it hurt. And he would tell me, I'm going to cut back. You're right. I'm going to cut back. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, I will only have 3 beers each day. I'll cut back. Because I would try to tell him, hey, what do you think you should do? Because I didn't want it to be from me because then I'm telling him not to drink.
Right.
And it's my fault, and then that wouldn't work. He would be drinking, a 6-pack every day.
Or I'd be sneaking shots. I'd be drinking the 3 beers and then going downstairs and had a little bottle of Southern Comfort. And
Gotcha.
I was never true to what I told her I was drinking because the addict in me wouldn't be satisfied with just 3 beers. So I would always sneak off and figure out a way to drink more.
More, yeah.
Yeah. And, it's just, his words started to become empty because then he was like, I'll only drink on the weekends. I'll stick to just the weekends. And I'm like, okay, but again, he'd come home from an event. And everything is surrounded by alcohol, work events. And all these things that he would be going to, and he would come home and he would smell like, liquor or like alcohol. And I would say, were you drinking? No. How dare you say that about me? You just want to fight with me. And, and just would totally turn it on me. And I'm like, I don't want to fight, but you said you weren't going to be drinking. And then it's,
then it turns into an argument
It
anyway.
does, you know, and it was really hard. And, you know, I think our oldest, you couldn't tell him anything bad about his dad. He's just, he is amazing in every way. But our youngest would pick up on it and would smell it on him and didn't want to sit next to him if he smelled like beer or, you know, Joe was not supposed to be drinking. And we wouldn't have these conversations in front of our kids, but they know, you know what I mean? And then Joe would say to me, you're telling things to our children to make them turn on me. And I'm like, I don't even talk to them about this. They can see it.
Right.
They know, it would get to a point where Joe would be drinking and I would take the kids upstairs and every night we had fun night where we would watch a TV show on Netflix or a movie and we would just lay in our bed until it was bedtime because I wanted to get them away from Joe.
Yeah.
I wanted, and not that he would have done anything physical, but it's just, I think.
Those words.
The words, right. And, and he had no patience either. So it was just, I didn't want to put them in a situation and I didn't want them to see him drunk.
Right.
As much as he felt like, and I would say, I could see it in your eyes. He would say, you're just making this up. And why would I make that up? Like, that's, I don't want to see that person. I don't want to put my kids around that. And he is such a great father. But it's like, again, I was married to two different men.
Two different men. Yeah.
And then it's like I didn't want to hurt Joe because he would tell me I worked so hard. I earned this beer. You don't, everything I'm paying for. I paid the mortgage and I paid for that TV you're watching. That stuff would always be thrown in my face, and so then I earned this. And I'm like, there's part of me that felt torn. Oh, okay. He did work really hard and, there's things that I enjoy that I don't want to be taken away from me. So, okay, he earned it. But then we would have, the lies would get worse, who he was hanging out with and where, going, he'd say he's staying late at work. And not that it was with other women or anything, but he would say he was staying after work and then he would come home smelling like, beer. And I'm like, you went out to the bar. And why not just tell me that? Because I'm more angry that you lied now. You know what I mean? I'm not even angry that you drank as much as now you're lying about it.
Mm-hmm. Insulting your intelligence, so to say. Right?
And then, and I would be like, you went drinking. And he's like, I didn't drink. And I'm like, do you, okay. So it almost these mind games that, would be continued to be played. And, we had a couple really, hard times. One time he went to a concert and he went with a friend. And then when he got back, because I knew he was going to be back late, I put the kids to bed. I went to bed. And then I was woken up in the middle of the night being shook awake, screaming at me in my face because Joe forgot his keys and he got locked out of the house. And he was calling my cell phone, which the ringer was on. It was right next to me, but I didn't hear it. And he had to punch a hole in, he didn't have to, he punched a hole in
one of
the
panes of
windows
glass, in the back door
to unlock the door. And instead of going and treating his hand, he came upstairs and dripped blood through the whole house to come up and shake me awake to figure out what I was doing wrong. Why didn't I pick up the phone? Because now look at him. And I could just smell the alcohol on him. And instead of fighting, I just got up, started cleaning up blood, took care of his hand. We're trying to clean up glass. I didn't even want to have that conversation or fight because I know if I, you're walking on eggshells around these people and you're thinking, I love this person. He's my everything. And then, 2 hours later, he's this other person. And then you're like,
nothing you can say is right.
Right.
Especially not when I'm in that mind of frame. Nothing good can come of that.
Mm.
And then, something like that would happen, one of those events, and he would, cut back for 2-3 weeks. So I'm like, okay, maybe this time really changed. He really saw it this time. He knew that this was a big deal and he wants to be better. And he would tell me he wants to be better. And then it'd go right back to it again. So I stopped drinking. I stopped drinking because I couldn't trust I wanted one of our children to have someone who was coherent and was present with them. So I stopped drinking altogether. So I don't even drink when I, would go out with my friends because, and it was upsetting to my kids. I remember one time, this is before it got really bad, and I showed a picture to my youngest, and I said, "Oh my gosh, look, I was out with my girlfriends," and he was like, "Are you drinking?" "Oh my gosh, Mom, you're like, moms aren't allowed to drink." And I was like, "What do you mean, moms can't drink? Like, it was a little drink, And he's like,
Right.
"No, like, that's not what moms do." And I'm like, your dad drinks all the time. Like, what do you mean I can't? But then it got to the point, like, even with kids, picking up the kids from their sports and dances and school events, I couldn't have Joe do anything and drive with the kids after like 5:30.
Yeah.
And I didn't trust him, and that's hard to lose that trust in someone.
Yeah, that is.
I think when it started to get really bad was about 6 years ago, and it got to the point where like our youngest would hear ice in the machine, and he'd be like, "Dad's drinking," or he'd hear the basement door open, and he's like, "Dad's drinking," and like those sounds triggered for him that he would know that what was happening, and he would know that we were going to go upstairs, and I felt like he was very protective of me too. Like, "Mom, we're just going to stay up here and we're going to have, a fun night, and we're not going to go downstairs, and don't go downstairs, and worried about those things."
Yeah.
And I started to get, because I realized the kids are realizing what's happening, I was having panic attacks. I started mentally struggling with everything, and I knew that I needed to get help because I kept asking Joe to get help and he wasn't.
Right.
He didn't want to get that help. So I know I needed to get it for myself and for my children. So I started seeing a therapist.
Okay. How did that work out for you?
It saved. No, I've seen a therapist before, but it saved my life. It changed all of our lives.
Awesome.
I mean, it took a long time. At that point, I think when Joe got sober, I was in therapy for 3 years because it wasn't an overnight fix. It wasn't. I had a lot of work I had to do on myself too because, again, I was insecure with myself. I wasn't confident. I didn't love myself. I spent so many years making sure that no one knew that Joe drank like that. And I made sure that I was trying to protect Joe from my family and my friends. I didn't want them to think differently of him because I love you so much. And I didn't want them to think that he was a bad person because I knew that other Joe was so beautiful inside.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want them to know that there was a monster in there too.
Right.
And I was, so I spent so much time taking care of Joe's feelings, and even after he would sit there and he would berate me, I didn't want anyone to know that's what he was doing, and I wanted to protect my kids from it, that I wasn't taking care of me.
Right.
And I think a lot of people who are struggling with loved ones who have an addiction, we forget who we are and that we need help too.
Absolutely. There's shame that comes along with that too. Would you agree?
I mean, yeah, because I think in social media, I mean, that's key. I'm doing a lot of this, right? So social media wants everyone's family to look beautiful, and on the outside, everyone's great. And so I didn't want anyone to think anything different. I wanted them to know that this is a wonderful family because at the end of the day, I do love our family, and it was something that was so important. So I didn't want them to see the flaws.
Right. Right. That's what social media is anyway.
Yeah.
We're seeing the highlight reels of everyone's life, but nobody's really taking their mask off on social media.
Right. Yep.
I think, one of the big pivotal moments was, Joe came home after he said he was going out to lunch. And he came home and he was sitting at the computer and he had a Wawa cup. And you could tell he was not even just buzzed, he was drunk. And at this point, it's only like 4:30, 5 o'clock. And I'm like, this is going to be a long night. And I'm like, are you drinking? Is that are you drinking liquor? Because really, I only knew him to drink beer. I didn't know he was even drinking liquor. And I was like, are you drinking liquor? And he's like, if I'm drinking liquor, what kind is it? And I'm like, I don't know. What is it, vodka? And he'd be like, no, see, you don't even know. And I'm like, I don't know. Is it tequila? And he's like, nope, see, you don't even know what you're talking about. And I'm like, is it whiskey? Like, nope. So see, like, you think you know things and you know nothing. And I'm like, because I'm not guessing the right liquor. Like, and I don't know lots of liquor. So I'm like, okay. So, that night took the kids up early and Joe passed out on the couch. And I knew I had to find evidence. I knew my words weren't going to be enough. I had to find evidence. So when he went to sleep, I went searching through the house to figure out what he could have been drinking. And I found stashed 5 bottles of Southern Comfort, large bottles with receipts. So these bottles were bought in 2 days and they were all empty. And I was like, God, be kidding me. So, which is probably, I don't know if it is or isn't the right thing, but I put the bottles behind him on the end table, and I took a picture with him because I felt like not only do I have to show him what I found out what liquor it is, I got to show him that I found the bottles and I have proof, because somehow he's going to turn it that I've made this whole story up.
Right. You're delusional.
Right. And like that next morning, and I wrote him a letter. Which is not the first time I wrote him letters. I mean, I would write him letters all the time asking him to get sober. And he would tell me, I'm not an addict. Like, I don't know why I'm not an alcoholic. I have a job. I work hard. An alcoholic doesn't have a job. They don't go to work every day. And they're not able to, pay for their house. And, would try to tell me what an addict would look like. And,
I was a highly functioning alcoholic, 100%. Yep. I still have that letter. It's in the closet, the 4-page one. Yeah.
And, through going to the therapist, I think something like I really want to other people who are dealing with this realize, and I know this word is not a word you love, is gaslighting. Mm-hmm. I learned what gaslighting was. And I realized that's what our marriage was made up of. Joe would gaslight me every day, and he would try to find these weaknesses. And, with gaslighting, that other person's manipulating you and trying to change your reality and make you feel like you're not seen. And they want to gain that power and control back. And so he would say things like, I don't have a drinking problem. You're overreacting. Or you don't smell alcohol in my breath. You're just looking to argue with me. If I was drinking, I wouldn't be able to have a job. And, things over and over again that I realized he's telling me. And with therapy, I realized, wow, like what he's doing is not okay. And that is taking my power away from me.
Taking your power. Yeah. Absolutely.
Because then the next morning I would say, let's talk about this. And his big thing was, I don't know why you always want to bring up old shit. And I'm like, it happened yesterday. Like, no, he would call me historian. I'm like, no, like I could see this happen 10 years ago, but this is literally hours ago. You know what I mean? And so then I sat him down, and I mean, so thankful for therapy. If you are struggling with how to help someone and they're not getting help for themselves, get help for you, because you need to figure out how to handle the situation. And I know there's a lot of groups out there. And if you go to therapy and that's not your person, and I'm sure Dr. T, like you probably have this, like you got to find your right therapist that kind of speaks your language.
And if the first therapist isn't the right fit for you, don't stop there. Find another, right? Find another. Don't give up. But you definitely have to prioritize your own well-being. That is so important. I'm so glad that you did that.
I am too. I mean, I sat Joe down, and we were outside on the front porch, and I said to him, I need you to get out. And he's like, what? Because any other time we would argue about alcohol, I would say, me and the kids are leaving.
Yeah.
Because he would say, this is my house. So I'd say, me and the kids are going to leave. And I would never leave, and I would never take the kids. And, it was just like an empty threat. So when I said to him, get out of my house, And he was like, what? Excuse me? I'm like, get your stuff, get out of the house. I'm done. And he's like, this is my house. And I said, it's not. I have done nothing wrong. This is me and our children's house. And he said, where am I going to go? And I said, I don't care. But I'm no longer accepting this behavior. I'm putting up boundaries. And he said, you're trying to steal my kids from me. And I said, no, I'm trying to save your kids from you. And either you're going to get help or you're going to leave. And that was the hardest thing, because I never wanted to get a divorce, and especially from my best friend, and how do you explain to someone that you need to leave someone, but you still love them?
Right.
It's not because I don't love you,
right,
but it's because I love myself more. And I have to for my kids.
Yeah.
Before I felt like I had to stay because of my kids. And then I got to the point of, no, I need to leave because of my kids.
Yeah.
And can I just say, that scared the shit out of me. That was the scariest moment probably of my life, because here we built this amazing family. We have this amazing home we're so proud of. And hearing her say that, and then like the realization of like, crap, I don't even know where I would go. Like just because anything I do in my life, I have to have a solid foundation in order to grow. I've never been wishy-washy. I always need something strong to stand on. And when she gave me that ultimatum, now for years, I knew I had a problem. I was totally deflecting whenever she would bring it up. And I would kind of have these convos with myself. And I'm like, she's doing this because she loves you. She's not coming in from a negative place. She's really doing this because, to be frank, you're fucking up and you're not doing anything about it. So she is trying to step in and save you. And I would just like think about it for a couple of days and then keep drinking. But when this happened, I'm a child of divorce. I told Katie when we got married, I was like, listen, we're never getting divorced. I know what it's like as a kid. I was like, we're in this for the long haul. We both agreed with that when we got married. So at that moment, I was like, all right, let's pump the brakes. Like, I will stop. We'll figure this out. Because that, again, I didn't want to go down that road, because the only thing down that road is, in my opinion, jail or death. Because if I say I was like, screw that, I'm going to keep drinking, bye, take the kids, I don't even know where I would have went. I would have continued drinking. I would have done that until either I got a DUI or got locked up for doing something stupid, or I would have just drank myself to death. And I would always play the victim and be like, screw everybody. I got this. No one understands me. But there's no end game in that. There's no light at the end of that tunnel. So I kind of had to really humble myself and really talk to God and look at the situation I'm in. I'm lucky enough to have 2 boys who I have raised and are awesome kids. I'm lucky enough to have a wife that loves me enough to step in and do something about it, because the only action I was taking was my tolerance is getting better, so I need to drink more to feel this way. Yeah. And that's like the worst thing you could ever do. So this like shock was enough to literally scare me straight. And honey, I honestly have to thank you for that, because like I said, death or jail, those are the only options. But here I am thriving now because my wife believed in me. Like, she literally is my rock. She is my best friend. And I'm so grateful for you. I'm grateful that I'm sorry for pushing you to that point. I do honestly apologize for that. That was me being 100% selfish. So I'm so sorry, but I'm also grateful, because now I would say that you and I are the best we've ever been.
Absolutely.
Even like in the beginning, like my love for you has been just so much deeper than I ever thought it could be. And I feel like now we're finally where we always should have been, where God wanted us to be.
Absolutely.
And we're growing together. We're thriving together. Like, I feel like by you having the balls to step up and do that. And then it also took me making the choice. Like, at that moment, I knew I wanted to choose you, because I didn't want to gamble going out there and trying to find someone like you. I would never find anyone like you. You're amazing in every way. Like, you're literally my soulmate. So by me making the choice and going, you know what, my strength is in my choices. Holding a beer to my mouth is a choice that I'm actively doing. So screw that. I'm going to choose you. And I would tell Katie, remember in the beginning, I would say my strength is in my choices. And I chose you. So here on out, everything I do is only to better us. Nothing I'm going to do is here to hurt us because I've done that for too long. So I choose you. I'm so proud that I chose you. And anyone listening out there that is in a similar situation, do the harder right. Choose the person that loves you, because you're not going to find someone that loves you the way someone does that's trying to break your addiction. And I know it's tough. No one wants to do it till they're ready. I didn't want to do it, but that scared me straight. That was like, again, I've prayed for years, like, God, please give me the strength to get rid of this addiction. Give me a sign, do something. This was that sign. This was literally slapping me in my face. Like, you're at a crossroads, son. Are you going to go right and end up in jail or dead? Or are you going to spend your life with this woman who's willing to lose you, even though she loves you? She's willing to let this go over something you're choosing to do. How stupid is that? I'm choosing the alcohol. So I was like, no, that's stupid. I was like, I'm choosing this woman that is choosing me, because how many chances in your life do you get to meet your soulmate, your best friend?
Your soulmate,
Yeah.
right.
I didn't want to let that go.
No.
So
I'm so proud that he did. I mean, if you would have told me that Joe was going to choose me and he was going to get sober, I would have bet my life on it. Never. I never thought he was going to choose us over alcohol. And it was a hard journey. And I mean, I still see a therapist. I mean, because even, when Joe decided to get that help, that journey of getting sober doesn't stop, because I think as the loved one,
yeah, it's a journey.
I'm waiting for that other shoe. Not now, but the first few months, I'm like, the other shoe's going to drop. He's going to start drinking again. And I was scared because things were so good. And I'm like, I don't want to lose him again. It's like, I can't go through this all over again. And I wanted it so bad. But even our kids were so proud of him. We have Elf on the Shelf, and it came to Christmas time, our youngest made a little sign from Michael the Elf, and it said, "Congratulations, Dad, on being sober," and put it out for my husband. And and I would never say that my kids had a bad relationship with their father, because they didn't, but it is so much deeper now.
Yeah.
They're proud of me.
They are so proud of you, and you've earned it, and I think there was a lot of things I had to be aware of when he was getting sober. There was family parties that he's like, I can't go to that person's house right now. This is too fresh for me, and everyone's going to be drinking and asking me, why am I not drinking? Because at first he wasn't ready to have those conversations,
Right.
That's hard. And it was not for me to say, well, Joe's getting sober. That was not my story. So I would let him, it was on him when he was ready. And I was respecting that. There were certain restaurants, and we used to go to breweries before. And he's like, I can't go to that restaurant. They have my favorite beer. And, just being mindful. And I knew then, and I told him, I said, listen, you are doing this journey and I'm going to do it with you. Even though I'm not a drinker, if I did go out with my friends and I had one year here, I don't drink anymore. And I will never drink again, because I want Joe to know that I am with him. I'm with you through this whole journey. And I'm not going to sit there and do something that I know could be so harmful to you or our family, And
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I've said it in other episodes, Katie's my rock. I don't think I could have done this without her. She is, because in the beginning, my emotions were crazy. I would get happy, sad, cry, I'd be all over the place, and Katie would be there for me. She wouldn't judge me. She would talk things out with me, and literally, Katie's been my everything for this journey. I always give you props. I don't know if you've heard, but at any chance I can, I always give Katie 100% props for me being where I am now, because I couldn't do this alone. And any listeners out there, you cannot do this alone. I have never met someone strong enough to do this alone. And if you're not lucky enough to have a wife like I do, go to AA meetings, go to your church, go to sober groups, get on Reddit. There's 1,000 sober groups. There's help out there. Use the help. Stop being a man. Stop being like your ego's your biggest enemy as an addict, because that's anytime I gaslighted Katie, it was my ego. It was me being stupid. And when I hear this, I'm like, I'm so ashamed, and like I just feel guilt and shame like as she's telling these stories, but I'm okay with it because look at where I am now. And we kind of had to go through that in order for me to be where I am now. So like I said before this episode, I'm willing to be crucified this episode and have me not look in the best light, because this is a story that needs to be heard. There's a million spouses out there. It doesn't matter if you're male or female. If you're dealing with an addict, your voice needs to be heard too, because you suffer more than we do. Because like Katie said, she remembers all that shit that I did wrong. I forget, and Katie's telling me what I did, and I'm like, oh, I did that? Like, she remembers it. Those wounds are vivid for her, not for the addict, because we forget, you know? So, like, yeah, this is a voice that definitely needs to be heard. I'm proud of you for having the balls again to come here and tell these stories, and I know it's not easy for you because you don't want people to know what we went through, but life isn't always beautiful. I mean, this is a harsh reality, and the only way we're going to help other people is by bringing stuff like this to light.
Absolutely. Taking the mask off and just being as transparent as you can. Right. That allows others to really be able to relate. So, yes, hats off. Hats off to you.
Yeah.
Are you or do you know a veteran who is struggling with substance abuse that could use some motivation? Have them tune in. Look, they won't change until they're ready to, but if we could cause a crack in the dam, it doesn't hurt to listen. If you are a sober veteran that would like to share your story in hopes to inspire others, please contact us at thissobervet.com. Show notes and more info could be found at thissobervet.com, and be sure to check us out on social media. We'd love to connect with you.
I mean, Joe did the work, because even afterwards, I mean, there was a lot of, and as you said, new emotions. He would get so angry quickly, and he'd have no patience, and then he'd be happy. And so, you know, he went to counseling, and he's back doing, you know.
Yep. I see a therapist once a month.
And it's great, you know. And again, it's us taking care of ourselves. It's self-love. And when we're able to focus on ourselves, it helps us better in our relationship. And honestly, when I married this man, I didn't think I could love him anymore. I have had the best 2.5 years of my life. I don't think I've laughed harder than I ever have before. Well, laughing in good ways and bad ways. It saves him sometimes, and it gets him in trouble sometimes, his sense of humor. But we've had the most amazing memories. Vacations are totally different, you know, where we knew, like, he wasn't, you know, Dad has food poisoning, guys, come over here when, you know, Dad's sick. And, you know, we can just enjoy our vacation. It's not surrounded by alcohol or, you know, making sure I'm not booking a hotel close to a restaurant that I think he might go and be able to walk to go get beer or alcohol. And, you know, life is just so different on this side, and it's not something that I still like to talk about. I know I still struggle about letting people in to what we go through, but I'm so proud of Joe for opening up fully to everyone. I mean, he tells his story to provide hope, and so when he was doing that, I said, you know, I need to be able to do that. If I can just tell that spouse or that loved one, like, listen, there is hope out there, because I prayed every day, God, please show us a way. Please tell me what I'm supposed to be doing, because I felt like I had no power, and I needed guidance in every way. And through therapy and through God, and I was able to really be able to get the help so then I can stand firm and be a support system for Joe.
And another thing, a huge thing that is back in our relationship is that T word, trust. Katie can now trust me. So years ago, there's an app called Life 360, and I was refusing because when I was drinking, dude, I'd hit the liquor store, hit the beer. I didn't want Katie to know where I was. So I downloaded it once, and then I was like, this thing drains my battery. I got rid of it, and then I tried to do it again, and Katie tracked me, and guess where I was? Do you remember that?
Yeah, you were at the liquor store.
I was at the liquor store, and then I got mad at her for tracking me, so I was like, screw this. So I deleted the app again. I've had that app for How long have I had it on my phone now?
Well, we welcomed it into our family circle because that's what like Life 360 is. So even our kids are like, "Yay, Dad's in our family circle now." But yeah, because the one night he took our youngest to dance, and I was really worried because he was driving him in the evening, and I thought, oh gosh, I hope he's okay. And I went in the Life 360 while he was drinking, and I saw he was at the liquor store, and I called him. I said, "Are you at the liquor store?" And he goes, "How dare you? I'm at Chick-fil-A. Like I would never do that. I would never drink." And through his sobriety, I've learned even so much about addiction. Because he'd be like, as we get closer, he's like, I used to hide liquor here. I used to, I stopped here all the time. You didn't even know this, but I would do. And what are some of the stories like you tell me now? Like, I had no idea what was happening. When we first got married, he said, yeah, I've been drinking liquor for years. I'd hide it in the basement, go down and say I was starting laundry and just do shots. And I had no idea.
No idea.
That it was even earlier than what I thought it was, that he was struggling. And he was struggling alone. And so I'm finding all these new things that he can trust me now to tell me.
Right.
And we're in a place where, I'm not going to, now that he's sober, I have to be able to forgive. No, I do not forget. You don't forget those things, but I forgive him and wholeheartedly open my heart to him. And I don't ever throw it in his face. I don't ever bring it up to him in a negative way. I'm never going to say the things that he did in a horrible way because I know that he made the ultimate choice to be better. So as his loved one, I need to forgive him.
Mm-hmm. And I appreciate that because even the boys, like it was immediate, the forgiveness. I got very lucky in that sense. Where as soon as I got sober, the boys were like, yes, Dad's sober. Like, this is great. We're so proud of you. Like, there was no resentment. There was no residual hatred or like, get away from me. Like, everyone immediately accepted me and was very proud of me, which was also part of my motivation to continue because I'm like, wow, like, our youngest is now jumping on the couch next to me and sitting next to me, whereas before I'd have a beer in my hand and be like, ugh, and he would sit as far away as he could. And so I'm like noticing all these little nuances of just the love that they're showing me now. And again, before the relationship was never bad. I've never had a bad relationship. No. It just wasn't as good as it is now. And I'm noticing all these little things. And all this as a package deal is part of my motivation to stay sober because as an addict, it's a daily choice to choose to be sober. Because I could have a really shitty day and be like, screw this, I could drink. But I know where that path would take me. And everything on this side is so good. Why would I want to jeopardize anything? Like Katie said, our last 2.5 years have been amazing. And like our kids are getting older now. So when they do leave the nest, we're going to be young enough to be able to travel the world while our relationship is amazing. Like we have so many more memories to make. Like I'm on fire now for God, number one, but our family, number two, because we're here. We love each other. We're so lucky to have each other. I have a new appreciation for her because of what she went through and stayed with me and what she made me do. And like, I love her and respect her so much that I don't want to do anything to jeopardize this because it's like too good. Like I keep waiting for the cameras to come up and be like, yo, Joe, this was the Truman Show. She's not your wife. Like this is like too good to be happening right now, Like, I just love it.
There's so many great things that have happened too now that Joe is sober. And if you know Joe, he hates grocery shopping. Like, I mean, we've been together 18 years. I mean, hates. Even if I send him in for cheese, he'd be like, where do you find cheese? Like, so at the deli? Like,
right.
So Sundays we go to church and then we go grocery shopping together. And that's what we do. It. And now we love it. Like, if I go by myself, I'm like really sad. I'm like, oh man, where's Joe? I have to go by myself. So like, it's a total different world, Actually, too, there was a really great story. So what episode did you have from Oxford? He lives in Hawaii now?
Oh, Troy. That was episode 7, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So Troy is stationed in Hawaii. And I will say, so in our whole relationship in 18 years, anytime Joe would get me upset or I would be angry or even if I'd be happy, he'd be like, what do you want me to do? Or if I was sick, what do you need? And it's, when you're sick and you're just laying there, I'm like, go get me a pineapple from Hawaii. Like that was like my sarcastic answer to everything. So like for 18 years, I say it for everything. Go get me a pineapple from Hawaii because obviously he can't do that. The other day, he comes home and he's like, come over here. he's like, you've been waiting for something for so long. And I looked at the package and it's like had a Hawaii return address. I'm like, no way, you didn't do this. And he's like, you have to open this package. He had Troy ship me 2 pineapples.
From Hawaii.
From Hawaii.
Oh my gosh.
So
Awesome.
my kids were so excited for me to open this package. And it was like such a joyous moment because, you know, here's something that like before he never would have even thought of doing. And it was so, and people might like, I mean, the pineapples themselves probably don't cost that much, but that like literally meant the world to me. Like that's going to be something that forever is a memory. And it was so hilarious. It was the best pineapple I've ever had in my life. Oh my, like the best pineapple. And then I made upside down pineapple cake.
Was delicious.
It was okay. It was okay.
so good.
I don't know if I'm that great at making them, but
I loved it.
they ate it, so I guess they liked it enough.
It was good enough, right?
But it was delicious. But those things like that, those moments mean so much more now that he's sober.
Mm-hmm.
Because now, again, our relationship is full of love. Whereas before, I might have been like, yo, Troy, do they have that reserve that they make in Hawaii? It's like barrel aged or whatever. I would have asked him to like send me a bottle of liquor. But now instead, I'm so grateful for Katie. I know she's been asking for this forever. So while we're waiting for the episode to download, I was like, how hard would it be to do? He's like, not at all. So yeah, we set it up, and thank you, Troy. That definitely made a lasting memory. So that's awesome.
Now I got to think of something else, like ice from like
No, you
Greenland.
don't. No,
Ice from Greenland.
we're
Like how
good.
hard is that?
You got what you've been asking for. That was 18 years. So yeah, if you're willing to wait 18 years for this next
I might
thing,
have to. I don't know. Or maybe I want a penguin. I don't know. I feel like I got to pick
I could
something
do a
new.
penguin. Nice.
That is too neat. Well, you know, dealing with a significant other who is struggling with addiction can be incredibly challenging, right? And when we want to look at some key pointers, right? When we think of, say, key pointers, you want to set boundaries and stick to them. And that sounds like what you did. You set a boundary, right? And you stuck with it. Establishing clear, healthy boundaries, it's to protect yourself emotionally, physically, and sometimes financially too, right?
Yeah.
You want to encourage them to get professional help, but don't force it, right? It needs to be their idea and not yours. They must be willing to seek the help. And then again, something else that you did was prioritize your own well-being.
Yes.
It can be emotionally draining, loving an addict. It can be just emotionally draining. So take care of yourself first. You want to seek support from a therapist, join a support group like Al-Anon, and learn and help and lean on trusted friends if you have some that you trust as well. But those are like 3 pointers that you want to do if you are dealing with a significant other who is struggling with addiction.
Absolutely. Yeah. And my message to that person that's in that addiction, please set your ego aside and let this person love you. Because on this side is so much better. I'm living it. I know it. I'm telling you. The way I'm feeling now, no drink, no buzz, no event I've ever gone to could even touch. Like I'm such on a natural high every day because of the love I have in my family that like I almost feel unworthy of it. Like it's that good, you know? So anyone out there on the addiction side, please just let it go. Open yourself up to the beauty that awaits. Because like I said, it's so much better.
Yeah.
I love it.
And if you love someone who's struggling, just have hope. Have hope. You know, get that help for yourself. But have hope because it can change. My name is Katie Yerk, and this is why I love this sober vet.